Welcome to this explainer, where we unlock some of the most surprising true facts and historical mysteries behind the world's biggest sporting event. When we watch the World Cup today, we're looking at a polished, multi-billion-dollar spectacle governed by an incredibly complex set of rules. But those rules weren't just dreamt up in a boardroom by executives. They were forged in the fires of controversy. Today, we're going to see how sheer chaos, outright crime, and international scandals literally created the modern game as we know it. It's a wild question, right? How exactly did a stolen trophy, a violent brawl, and a political dictator shape modern football? Well, the sport didn't just evolve by design. It evolved out of absolute necessity. You see, the rules that govern the modern game are essentially just a patchwork of reactions to things going terribly, terribly wrong. Every single time the system broke, the sport was forced to adapt. 1934, political propaganda. 1962, on-pitch violence. 1966, criminal theft. 1982, rule manipulation. And 2026, modern expansion. We'll be traveling from the tense political atmosphere of 1930s Europe to a literal brawl in South America, all the way to the sprawling global juggernaut awaiting us in 2026. Section 1. Football as a political weapon. We're starting in the 1930s, an era where the tournament collided directly with international politics. It was no longer just a leisure activity. It was an extension of foreign policy. FIFA actually stated, "Sport is still the best league of nations," officially recognizing international football as a powerful tool for diplomacy. They thought they were creating a platform for peace, but certain regimes saw this not as a place for friendship, but as a theater for domination. Well-sourced historical research reveals that the 1934 World Cup was completely hijacked by Benito Mussolini's regime as a vast, organized display of fascist power. The Italian team essentially acted as soldiers on the pitch for both domestic and external propaganda. A successful sporting program was seen as absolutely vital to creating consent and prestige for a nascent political system. Mussolini utilized the efficient organization of the tournament and the incredibly high standard of Italian football to intimidate international audiences. Section 2. The Battle of Santiago. Jumping ahead to Chile in 1962, the tension goes from political posturing in the stands to sheer, unadulterated physical warfare on the pitch. The expectation was a standard Group 2 match between the hosts Chile and Italy. The reality, it was so vicious that armed police, the Carabineros de Chile, had to intervene and physically break up fights between the players 4 separate times. We're talking 2 red cards, literal punches thrown, and players kicking each other. It was way less of a football match and far more of a street fight. And here's a highly surprising true fact about that match. That exact violent spectacle directly inspired the English referee Ken Aston to invent the yellow and red card system we use worldwide today. The violence was so out of control and communication across language barriers was so difficult in the heat of the moment that Aston realized a universal visual system was absolutely necessary just to maintain order. The Battle of Santiago literally changed the written laws of the game forever. Section 3. The Stolen World Cup. By 1966, the tournament heads to England, and this sparks one of the most bizarre historical mysteries in sports. The drama moves completely off the pitch and into a London church hall. The organizers place the iconic Jules Rimet trophy in a locked glass case at an exhibition, but with astonishing security gaps. It wasn't guarded around the clock, so while a Sunday church service was taking place on the floor below, a thief literally just broke through the back door and stole it. And get this. The trophy was insured for £30,000, but it was sitting right next to a stamp collection worth £3 million, which the thief completely ignored. It was a massive, highly public embarrassment for the Metropolitan Police. Scotland Yard is panicking, hoaxes are flooding in, a ransom note is even sent. But the hero who saved the 1966 World Cup wasn't a brilliant detective, it was a dog named Pickles. Just a week after the theft, Pickles was out for a walk in South London and sniffed out the most sought-after prize in global sports, completely wrapped in newspaper, just hiding under a bush. Pickles became an instant global celebrity, starring in movies and gaining a massive cult following. And his owner, David Corbett, he collected a massive £6,000 reward for his dog's incredible discovery. It remains one of the most unbelievable, Hollywood-worthy storylines in the entire history of the sport. Section 4. The Disgrace of Gijón. Fast forward to Spain in 1982 for a quiet, incredibly slow match that fundamentally broke the World Cup's tournament structure. The German press gave this infamous nickname, the disgrace of Jahan, to the West Germany versus Austria group stage match. Going into the game, a 1-0 or 2-0 victory for West Germany meant both teams would advance to the next round at the expense of Algeria, who had already played their final match. So, after West Germany scored in the first 10 minutes, both teams deliberately stopped attacking for the next 80 minutes. They just passed the ball aimlessly around the pitch. Algeria is eliminated, and the global outrage is absolute. But here's the crazy part. FIFA couldn't actually punish either team. Why? Because neither team had technically broken a single written law of the game. Passing backwards was entirely legal. Protecting a lead was legal. There was simply no regulation anywhere stating that a team was required to attack. They were just ruthlessly exploiting a structural loophole. So a structural loophole is exposed by the teams. FIFA realizes the tournament format is fundamentally flawed, and simultaneous kickoffs are mandated for final group games. Because of this scandal, the sport evolved forever. From the 1986 World Cup onward, all final group stage matches must kick off simultaneously, ensuring no team can calculate a safe, mutually beneficial result in advance. That role is now the gold standard in the Champions League, the Euros, everywhere, all because of that one disgraceful afternoon in Gijón. Section 5. The modern global spectacle. Fixing those historical loopholes naturally brings us into the massive modern era, where the stakes are billions of dollars and unprecedented global infrastructure. By the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the financial scale of the event had absolutely skyrocketed. The host nation spent over $3 billion on the tournament, including a staggering $1.1 billion on building and upgrading stadiums alone, plus massive investments in road, rail, and air links. The tournament had completely transformed into a financial juggernaut. The legacy of 2010 is massive. It was the first World Cup on African soil, it kicked off a massive infrastructure revolution, and it gave us the unforgettable, deafening roar of the plastic vuvuzela horns in the crowd. Financially, it was a massive success, bringing in a reported $631 million profit for FIFA. Now, compare the intimate, small-scale tournaments of the early years to what's coming in 2026. It will be the most sprawling, complex tournament ever attempted. We are looking at a dramatically expanded field of 48 teams playing 104 matches spread out across 3 massive host nations, the US, Canada, and Mexico. And remember the disgrace of Gijón? Because of past rule manipulations, maintaining integrity across a massive 12-group format now requires an incredibly strict system. To break a tie, it goes from total points to head-to-head results to goal difference, followed by goals scored, fair play cards, which remember, were only invented because of the Battle of Santiago, and finally it defaults to the FIFA World Ranking. The modern rules literally carry the scars of past controversies. As the rules grow more complex and the scale expands to 48 teams, what unprecedented historical event will force the World Cup to evolve next? We've witnessed its evolution from political battlegrounds and stolen trophies to a 48-team mega event. The rules are tighter than ever, but human nature always finds a way to surprise us. What unpredictable scandal, crisis, or triumph will rewrite the rules all over again? Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.